And we're live once again. All right. Well, a lot of people have fielded questions to me, and a lot of them were, are the tariffs going to affect ammo and that? And, well, I have to, at first I thought, I don't know. I didn't realize that these tariffs are going to every country. So they say. A lot of confusion, a lot of things. There's no answers, no definite, straight answer of what's going on. Okay. A lot of turmoil in the world, not only with the different wars and that, but with this trade war and a lot of political mumbo jumbo and stuff that's confusing as hell. But how it will actually affect us, the consumer, I, still don't know. But the reason I brought this up is because in a discussion today about it in general, not so much about ammo and reloading. They said the reason the consumer is not really seeing the effect of the tariffs somewhat is there is inventory on hand, be it plumbing supplies, clothing, whatever. Okay. Uh, we do have inventory in warehouses. Morning, Tim. So this is going to go on, and see, then again, everyone's predicting it was like the end of last month was supposed to be something dramatic, but everyone's predicting or thinking that the end towards the end of the year, September, that's when, hey, Megabait, on my backup channel. Okay, good. Um, Everyone's predicting the end of the year is when all these things are going to culminate. In other words, any inventory we have should be sold. And to replenish said inventory, and they even said like plumbing supplies, like getting, we'll use this as an example. You can buy, if you're installing, say, a bathtub, okay, in your bathroom, the fixture and the thing, the whole packet. I don't know if any of you ever done it, but you buy the whole damn packet, the unit, in a plastic thing and go in there and have it installed. Well, one made overseas is $85, and one made here in the US is $250. So, which one you gonna buy? Okay. And again, it's because somebody in a factory somewhere, I've made parts for Zern, you know, in my last job. Uh, Somebody here has to be paid a wage as compared to somebody in Vietnam, which now has kind of replaced China, um, that gets paid $60 a month to make something comparable, whether or not the quality's there or not. When it comes down to making a choice, hey, I'm remodeling my bathroom. Do I spend $80 or do I spend 250, 260? Again. And in this country, unfortunately, the attitude to where you always bought something somewhat expensive to prove, that's the capitalist way. I'm not going to buy this cheap stuff. I'm going to buy top of the line. All right. When you actually lived in an economy where you can afford to have that attitude. So, with ammunition, reloading components, that SOG ammo, they have another thing they're changing their website, but they're the ones saying that they're going to increase everything. That's right, top shelf. They're going to increase everything incrementally or whatever, or as the tariffs approach. I haven't checked their prices. I don't know if you guys watch them. They send me an email about twice a week. I don't even open it no more because I'm not looking for anything. But they send a newsletter. Their website's going to be down. They're going to redo their whole, online or their whole system for their business where you go and order and all this other stuff. So that their website's being revamped or redone here recently. I have done a lot of business with them, and I bought a lot of things from that one distributor. And they said it's coming. Now, in that mindset, you know, I wasn't thinking about it, but I have been asked by many, many people, will this tariffs affect ammunition coming in? This place says yes, because a lot of the brand name, ammunition, Fiocchi's Italian. You got Czechoslovakia. Well, the Czechs bought into the ammo thing. So, Aguila or whatever that comes out of Mexico, it's halfway decent ammo. That may be tariff. There's stuff that comes, there's two of them. There's Max Tech and Magtech or something. One is Serbia and one is down there in Brazil. They make a lot of ammo. I've bought their ammo and use it. It's not terrible. But yeah, there's a lot of ammo out there that they're made, it's foreign made, put it that way. Then you get the weird stuff like during the plague era where you're getting this, like I said, anything marked range and training. And if you read the box, you will see that it says assembled in America may have foreign components. So in other words, the primers, the powder, or the projectiles are not US made, but there's a factory somewhere in the US that assembled it all. Okay. So there's a lot of strange things that have happened here recently that were not going on years ago, because it was Norma range and training ammo, and it had Norma on the head stamp. Now, Norma makes some of the finest ammunition in the world. Their brass and everything is top of the line. Okay, and whatever this ammo was, and I believe the reason I'd get a lot of light strikes is when you look at how it was formed, okay, and you measured it, the brass was misshapen. It wasn't uniform. Like some cases, you look, the rim's uniform, thickness is uniform. There's no weird stuff. This brass was real crappy. It would chamber and pass that stuff. There was stuff that wasn't. That Sterling stuff was horrible. People actually are blowing their guns up and stuff with it. And I think what happens is the rim is misshapen or out of spec, and that's why it don't lock into the pistol quite well, and you get them light strikes because it's kind of not going in the battery. And there are people that had a lot of the 308 deal there, or the 7.62. That one guy was on YouTube where his gun blew up. An M1A. It wasn't the gun, the ammo, and there were several people that come up with this. Seems to be 40 Super. What's 40 Super? Yeah, it's very strange. Okay, I've heard stories of things going on here that, I don't know, like some channels just get removed. They just get removed with no reason or nothing. Okay. I was told I wasn't supposed to talk bad about the plague and some other political things, and I was given a couple strikes. One of them, I got 2 strikes within the 90 days. It's like one's because I ran my mouth, and the second one was a video I made 2.5 years earlier that they said, hey, this is against our policy, and I got a second strike. So I don't know if they're like warning me or what. Okay. Very, very strange. Well, look, Hickok 45. They just shut his chain. He was in litigation, but all of a sudden it all just went blank and all his old stuff is gone because of his sponsors sold forbidden things. Okay, that's where he got burned, not so much for his content, but because who was sponsoring his channel got him shut right down. Sixth channel. Oh, it's something new. I had not heard of that. Okay. Of course, I don't follow. I have enough trouble researching the older stuff, nevertheless, to get into whatever hell's new. And I guess that's another. The 357 Sig was supposed to be the greatest, biggest thing. I owned a pistol and shot at it. It was an interesting gun, and it was an interesting caliber, but I think that's kind of gone to the wayside too, you know. Popping off. Well, the thing, you know, you mentioned that. Were you, or what was it? Was it more, were you talking dollar values or whatever? You know, see, because sometimes I mention, you know, hey, I got this and it costs this, and that's why I got to use code and say either a grand or so many C notes, you know, so it's like 4C means 400. You know, I have no idea. And it seems that some people, like he's saying there, some people get hit hard, fast, and directly, and some don't. You know, I don't know what it is. Okay, either the logarithms, because I do get a lot of people telling me, you know, a lot of the messages I get in the comments is, hey, thanks for the information, thanks for helping me, thanks this and that. You know, not so many people arguing or name calling. So I don't know if that kind of gives me a little bit of a buffer other than somebody coming down on me. I don't know. See, it's like everything, like the Wizard of Oz. Don't look behind the curtain and this big mysterious thing. And the last thing I got burned for is something about reloading a cartridge, and I didn't. And I know in my master settings for this channel, I checked off that this is not for children. Nothing, the content here is not for minors. And anyone who accesses my video has to be over 18 years age. Okay, that's set. I got hit for that where they said, hey, we're changing this. You had this, the setting, which I know the master setting hasn't been changed, not since I put that video up. How that got adjusted to where it didn't have the age restriction on it, I don't know. They said it's not a strike or nothing. We're just changing it to you have to be 18 to look at this video. And then the only thing is when you click on it, it says that you can protest it or challenge it or appeal it or whatever. And out of the blue, didn't understand it whatsoever. You know. I was agreeing with you about 308 being safe in old Milsurp. See, now I brought that topic up several times. I don't know if there's something that triggers unsafe thing, or you know, when you go to any video. All right, let me go over here and open something up. Okay, I'm going to go to just any video here. Now open this, close it, and there's a little 3 dots there. There is save and then report. Okay. report under every video. There's the little thing, there's a flag, report this video or rat you out. You may have somebody that is down there just doing this, reporting this video is unsafe or sending a complaint. I don't know if I had anyone do that to me or see something, some of this weird stuff. I don't know how that works, but I don't know. Is on par or more foot-pounds, 10 millimeter. All right. The 10 millimeter, I don't know how that's doing. I knew people that got, had them. I never owned one. The ammo, number one, and everything else. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just because it's new. They got new 32s or that 30 concealed carry or something like that. I mean, there's some guns out there, but getting ammunition and components is difficult and expensive. It's even the 5.7s. They got a sale on the pistols, but the ammunition is way more than 9 millimeter. And it's difficult to reload because whatever that coating on there wears off, you only get 2 or 3 reloads. And for a long time, people were asking me about reloading it. And as far as I'm concerned, I had that one gun I tested, and I really don't want to screw with it no more because the 9 millimeter is cheaper, the ammo's cheaper. Yeah, you're zipping a little 22 bullet out of there, but the gun is huge, the grip is big, and really, it's a submachine gun round is what it is. It's not worth the time, the hassle, or anything to deal with it. That may trigger the algorithm. Well, see, the thing is, even though you mention reloading and that, and you did some rework videos where you pull a gun apart, clean it, and put it back together. You're not modifying it. You're not sawing barrels off or any other kind of weird crap, and you don't have huge drum magazines in there. A lot of it would be, see, what Megabait was telling me is whenever he's mentioning prices, like, hey, I found this at this store for this amount, and that he would even get popped here, the comments wouldn't come through, to be blocked. So I don't know what triggers it. Okay. Our taco guy here, YouTube, with his title, like he said, he's gone through 6 channels. Actually, this guy right here. Yeah, see, I see a lot of people put that up. But see, I don't know, where, like I said, you have that thing where you can get flagged. I don't know if somebody's flagging you or if just the algorithm, or like you said, maybe whoever's running the algorithm or looking at the data is not the same person looking at it. I have no idea how it works. Okay. And once you piss them off or whatever, or get locked out, which a lot of channels have been, there really isn't much you can do, because the appeals, I forget. Let me see what I got. That's another thing, that how this thing works. Okay, I got 24,000. I've been hanging 24,396 subscribers. And it's kind of like, if you wish to appeal, you have to have like 100,000 or more subscribers or something to even get their attention. Where I am, even though that sounds like a lot, I'm not in that field to where my appeal will even be looked at. Okay. There's a lot of the stats and how many subscribers and all this other stuff that has a lot to do with this. And like I said, even then, because Hickok 45 is an example, is probably one of the largest gun channels out there. Okay, everybody loved that guy. I guess it was a business for him. And he had all them sponsors. They come down and said, if your sponsor is selling this, this, and this, bump stock, certain type of triggers, and this and that, or anything else, uh, your videos will be taken down. Well, every single video the guy's been making for years is backed by these sponsors, and you know they shut him down. Okay, yeah, private company. Yeah, that. But what happened is, like when I did the polymer 80 guns and showed how I cut out the 80% AR lowers and that, they actually told me if you ask me what's the depth from the top of the receiver to the bottom of the pocket for the fire control, if I sent you an email saying it's such a distance and gave you the measurement, which is something you can find the blueprints on the internet, simple as hell, and get that measurement. Okay, it's still out there. It take you 5 minutes to do that. They were using that to ATF as a trick to catch me giving out that thing. And then one guy that ran the channel, I guess he's in prison. I forget what it was. I used to watch it. He's from Texas. And he used to point to the whiteboard and this during the crisis. I guess he was doing something where he had a card with some kind of conversion or something on there that was illegal and just handing them cards out. His ass is sitting in prison right now. So you don't know. Morning. Because whenever you do something and misspell or leave a letter out, it confuses the computer, the algorithm, and the AI. Okay. It's something about that. I found out I was making these videos about them Indian muskets, and I had one or two of them where I talked about them. And what happened was I misspelled something in the title, India or muskets or something. There's something I screwed up. That video got like thousands and thousands of views, but the other ones didn't. I was trying to figure out. Then I went and looked, and when I went and looked at it, I misspelled something. So what I did is went to the other ones, and the word I misspelled or how I jumble up the letters, I did the same thing and then waited a month, and they all. So there's something about when you do that, it either doesn't see it, or if you misspell something, it picks up. Like somebody hits a search and it'll lead them there because the spelling is wrong. All right. Let's see. Yeah. Sell guns and ammo. Okay, got that. Try to stay out of politics. Morning. Yeah. Yeah, it depends. It depends how high up or whatever. Yeah, well, the Japanese rifles were the strongest bolt-action rifle made during the war. When they did the destructive testing, they couldn't get them to fail. So, you know, the old guns, they can't. And I don't believe a military would make a gun to where you can easily mix the cartridges up. That's coming up in my videos where I explain that theory, or I have already. All right, a 40's good, having Montana and Alaska. Yeah, animals get a tad bit bigger out there. Coyotes, yeah. Yeah, see, Don Johnson in Miami Vice, the Bren 10. I thought about getting one of them years and years ago. Should have. But yeah, 10 millimeter, I think it is this most powerful automatic pistol thing it is. Of course, I don't know compared to the 50 Action Express, whatever the hell. I ain't going to get in an argument about it. But yeah. Yeah, you could. 25 ACP rifle. Yes, that would be interesting. Because they can. Because they can. Gladys, glad to see you. Good for that. Hmm. Welded through the deactivated drill holes in the chamber. It still have rifling in it? Hmm. Yes, very interesting. Greetings. So yeah, the YouTube thing, it's like it all started with eBay. Okay, eBay, if you ever had an account with them and that, it got to where you had to contact them. You could not contact the living person. You had to send messages. So if your account was frozen or something else, because they have rules about what the hell you can sell and can't sell, and you just couldn't deal with it. And like when I screwed up and listed something twice, there was a dispute. One guy, he did this. He was an ass. He set this up to where it just started a dispute. And I said, look, okay, I tried contacting them and they told me you got to do something about it. And they wouldn't let me just end the auction. I said, look, I made a mistake. I said, I'm going to tell the both of you. Okay, the only way to end this is it's my fault. Going to null and void the auction. I'll relist it and then you can rebid on it. And one guy said, no, no, no. But fortunately, one guy sent me an email and said, you know what? I don't want to get involved in this. I'll let it go. So I said, okay. And I shut the auction down. They were satisfied. The other person complained but couldn't leave negative feedback because it was resolved. And I think those bullet molds are still sitting on a shelf in a garage. I just got pissed off and never sold them. But yeah, you get into that and there's no way around it. And if you are set up, because any of them, YouTube, it's cool because, I do have ads in there and there is something generated every month. Plus, the people who are members generate something every month. So there's a little bit of money coming in to help cover the costs of stuff, cameras, software, I got some extra cash to buy some new guns to make videos. Yeah, it's part of it. I ain't making a ton of money, because one guy, well, how much do you? I said, it's not that much. And he's like, well, there's this guy that runs some kind of car repair thing. And he goes, people send him all types of money and he gives away money. And I said, I'm not doing automotive repairs. I don't have that many people. Look at how many subscribers he's got. I only got like 24,000. I don't have 250,000 subscribers. Okay. Or something, or over 100,000. I don't know what you got to get the little plaque. I think 100,000 or something. And honestly, like I said, when I make a video about some old guns or surplus guns, I really only get maybe 300-400 views immediately. There's some people that make a video, I don't talk about anything, and they get over 1,000, 2,000 views in 48 hours. My video has to sit there for years before it starts getting over 1,000 views. Depends on the topic. When I talk about reloading or reloading crisis, then I generate a lot of views. And another weird thing, I just was doing a review on that little 38 revolver, that Roscoe revolver. For some reason, every video I made about that particular firearm, I didn't change the way I made the video or didn't add nothing extra. It got a ton of views, okay, because it was new or something. And I got thousands and thousands of views, which was kind of unusual. And then somebody said, well, you're the only person other than just like a ad or, yeah, this is great, fire it and this. And he goes, you're the only person getting in depth about it. And it's a new gun. So that's why a lot of people like to get something new, like from the SHOT Show. I was going to try to do that with that new Caltech thing, but somehow it was kind of a little false advertisement with the company, and I paid them. And they said that it would be sent. They said they had them in stock, but they lied. And after waiting a month, they said it was a pre-order. And then they said they were sending out pre-orders. And I don't know if they're all one color because you had 3 color choices. I picked green. Never got it. Then I started contacting them and go, where is it? And after a month and a half, 2 months, they just stopped answering. And I had to go call a credit card company and I got my refund. Okay, it was done. And what it is now, if you want one, the gun retails for like $400. You can buy them. I think Grab-A-Gun's got them. They're $700. If you want one, you can get one. If you want to pay $200 over MSRP, then you can get it. Then again, I don't know, I ain't going to drop $7 just to get something to get ratings on YouTube. It might not be worth it. Depends. But yeah, they're pretty strange on that. But getting back to the tariffs, like I said, somebody brought it up to me that even if they're in place, there's inventory here and the shops are not going to raise the price. Or, the ammo guy said he probably was because he's projecting the tariff costs. But this isn't going to happen until towards the end of the year, to where you will actually see the tariff added to the new products. Everyone kind of forgets, with the exception of like food, anything that comes through the supply chain, especially with ammo and stuff. Okay, that ammunition you go into a store and the ammunition on the shelf they just stocked it was made last year, because that gets manufactured, stored, transported to different distribution centers. Then it goes into stock. Then, months later, when a retail outlet places an order, then it's sent. So you're not really buying the stuff like it was made last week or, that morning, like you buy a loaf of bread from a bakery was, made that morning type of deal. A lot of stuff goes through a pipeline, probably tools, like I was talking, plumbing fixtures, stuff like that. Uh, so there is a time delay, even if the tariffs are on now. Okay, by the time we see it as a consumer, it might not be till the fall. Okay, maybe sooner. It depends. It depends how quick the supply or inventory of whatever item it is moving. You know, and it's not getting any easier with reloading components. Primers are not dropping. Some of the foreign ones did, but they can be problematic depending on the firearm you use. Powder is up and it's not coming down and it's hard to find. Somebody asked me a question about a certain powder, and truthfully, I have not seen it for sale or available. Of course, I don't look every second of the day. I have not seen it available, and I have some companies. I put the little thing, send me an email when it's stock, and I mean for like 2 years. I haven't seen it. You know, accurate 5744, and it's also expensive. The last 8 pound keg, when I found the price, it was sold out. Instead of $5, it's $600 for an 8 pound keg of that. Okay, so a lot of that stuff ain't coming down, ain't happening. And US made primers are hovering at the $80 mark. CCI Winchester said primers. That big hoorah that this plant is going to come and start manufacturing primers or whatever, I have not seen it. I don't know what the name of the company is. You guys seen what that was? Remember everyone saying that one company was going to do it, and they had a guy on YouTube. He even got samples from them, and then all of a sudden, the people creating this place or backing it had some kind of financial trouble, and then they ended up closing it. But then I heard some other place was supposed to shut their plant down, double the floor space, expand the plant, and then mass produce the hell out of US made primers to alleviate all this. I don't know if anybody heard about that or knows. I get stuck. Yep, this thing got stuck again. 20,000. Whatever. Yes, there's a lot of stuff. It used to be different years and years ago. No, that I haven't. That I haven't done. See, you got your two guns mixed up. Try to sell. Now that's not anything that can be reactivated or anything. I mean, it's just a hunk of brass cut up. Who knows? Oh, okay. So they didn't plug the barrel up when they deactivated it. That's what I was trying to ask you. Yeah, they deactivate fairly good guns and turn them into drill rifles. They don't select them on jam those rounds in there. Yeah, that's just beat on it. That's why you bring a rubber mallet with you, right? The mags I forgot. I took my M1 carbine out and forgot forgot the damn mags. All right, the 320 that goes off, I don't know about that, but I've seen it. I never got into it. MX7 spear rifle. Nope, I kind of haven't followed that. Basically, a lot of the questions, not so much new stuff or these things. More views for some. Yeah, that's true. I've been working on the bargain stuff, reloading stuff, things like that. Not so much the new stuff, or like the stuff from the SHOT Show and that. I don't know. I mean, that's maybe a mildly derogatory thing, but I don't think it's enough to get your channel shut down. Thinking of PSA. Let me look that up. And okay, don't know if they're making it. PSA. No, that wasn't what I was talking about. Let's see what we got here. So USA and Arizona. Okay, so that's the one that's supposed to be opening. I thought there was an existing plant that was going to make it, and it wasn't coming under Fiyoshi either, because Fiyoshi primers are available. I've seen them for sale. All right, trout fishing. Let me see if I can find that. For reloading, sports warehouse, Midway, Shields. Okay, you got Winchester. That ain't it. Powder Valley. Let me check them out. Cheddite, Remington. I think it was White River Energetics. That's the company that I think I was talking about, $88. Let me see. Let me look that company up. And that's what I was talking about. Small arms primary manufactured. Yep, White River. but I believe, I don't know if that was the one or not, or somebody else, because like mentioned here, Fiyoshi primers have been available. Like he mentioned here, they have been available, and and Fiyoshi does have a plant here in the U.S. So save money. Somebody will buy them. White River in Arizona. Yeah, I think that's the company. Was supposed to be expanding. That's true. WRE primers in Arkansas. Okay, so there's factories being done. Will open here soon. Okay. High Point. What channels? Yeah, because that's what people are interested in. Okay, it's like AR-15s, some of those variations I built, and 6.8 Remington Special Purpose, and all that other stuff. They get a lot of views, but now I guess assembling an AR or anything is forbidden or whatever the hell. Arkansas, okay, Arizona. But yeah, I mean, there's some other companies, like White River or whatever, that I never heard of that were supposedly supposed to open. And I forget where the other place was the guy was talking about that it got a start. He even got some samples, but I was watching his channel and something happened where they shut him down, or something financial issues come up when they took out the loans to create the factory and that. My Bren and my police trade-in Mark IV. Yeah, it depends. I mean, certain things, or if you put Milsurp in a damn title, no matter if you're talking about something totally different, when they see it, they go on and they watch it. And certain mil surplus guns are more popular than others, like any. Like I was talking about, like all of a sudden, they had the Swiss straight pull rifles, and somebody makes a video like a influencer. Oh, them guns were like $3. Okay. And they didn't move fast. But somebody's like, oh, wow, these are high quality. These are accurate as hell, which they are. That's not an exaggeration. They weren't exaggerating about the weapon. It's just people didn't know much about it. And once they made this video talking about it, and it's the greatest thing, and they're going to go up in value. And the guy was like leading, and sure enough, they would sell out, you know, and anybody that had them online, it would just go, and then the price started going up. I think I've seen it at the height. K31's going for $700-800 from the old $300 price. All the Swiss guns went up, but there's still some of them trickling in. So I seen the prices kind of come down. Plus, I think people, the demand ain't there. Of course, the surplus ammo ain't available either. I mean, I got some of that stuff. It's pretty cool, but I think that stuff dried up, unless you find it somewhere, some old stock. Back from the builder this week. Is that going to be a shooter? You went and got a semi-automatic Bren made? That'd be cool. That would be. Yeah, I mean, I got stuff. I just decided, you know what? This stuff's been sitting there. I might as well use it, do some projects, make some videos, shooting some guns with some of my reloads. And then if I run out and I can't get it no more, who knows? Maybe it's time to thin some of the guns out, you know, just crazy. 'Cause my age, you know, where the hell you going? You know, it's a shame. And my club ain't open. Supposedly after this week, these people are supposed to open this place. 2 weeks turned into 2 months. I got a backlog of ammunition to test out that I reloaded, several reloading projects. That weird radar friggin' chronograph I got. I tried setting that up in the driveway and triggering it with an air rifle, but I had to end up using, instead of acoustic, the trigger thing. And I think I got it to work finally, figured out how to use that thing. But they tell you to look through the peep, and it's set for 100 yards. So at 25-30, I put a little target in the boxes in the center as well as I can, but I don't know how that beam, or if it gets wider over distance or something. I couldn't get it to work like that. It would register that I triggered it, but it would say that it didn't see a projectile, so the pellet wasn't flying in the path of the whatever the hell. So I'm gonna just try to get out real early in the morning when nobody there and set this thing up at the club on a solid shooting bench and try to get this thing to work, you know. But somebody did send me a message, a comment that they bought one of these and tried to use it. It didn't work. They sent it back. They returned it to them, told them it didn't work. So I don't know how this has to be lined up. The one video I found where a guy was using it, he was shooting at quite a distance, like 75 yards, not quite 100. And he had another guy that probably was sitting beside him, shifting this thing until you get a bullet to travel in the path. I think aiming this is going to be the difficult end of it. Yeah, well, you can say that. Shot. What screwed me up with reloading my own shells to shoot trap. I shot so much, and when a bag of number 8 shot or 7.5 that we have to use was $19, $20, 20 some dollars, you know, it wasn't that bad. Okay. When it went to $80 a bag, well, now there's no point in reloading. Okay. Because, you know, I'd go through 300 shotgun shells each match, not counting the practice, another 200-300 in practice in between the matches every month. You know, and it is, if you didn't go to 2-3 matches a month in the summertime, I kind of did that. I do 2, maybe 3 in a month, and then it all got expensive. It was fun as shit. I really had fun with the people that I used to hang out with at all these different clubs. It was a fun thing to do, but it just got to where it was too much money. You know, it's a shame. Yep. So I haven't got hit with anything. Let me look. To do on my dashboard. Age restriction set. That's what it was. They said I had the wrong age restriction. Tough videos. Oh. So, yes, who knows what the future will bring. I hope everybody watched the Victory Day parade in Russia. It was fun. And then now global politics up in the air. Got them starting another war somewhere else, you know. And it's just fun and games. Never a dull moment. Never know what's going to happen. It's 80 a bag here, and black powder at 60. Yeah. Yeah, that's why you ain't shooting that much. But it's still 80 a bag. I haven't bought a bag of shot in I don't know how long. Okay. Uh, I quit shooting a few years ago. But yeah, it's not inexpensive. Well, I figured for those roller lays, 308s, you know, full power load for a little HK clone and the 70C, even reloading it. Because you see, you got to remember, even if you look at the cost of the projectiles, this and that, it's still being shipped to you. You're still paying sales tax, okay, for everything you buy. So them listed prices are even more. It costs $1 a round, excluding the brass. Primer, powder, projectile, just about $1 a round, which I can buy this stuff for about that. About, you know, and if I buy a case of 800, I can get it for 60 cents a round, and probably with the free shipping with the sales tax, it'll still come out 75 cents or something a round. Okay, even though it's listed at 69. Okay, you're still gonna, by the time you pay the sales tax, it could be 75, 80 bucks a round or 80 cents a round. So you're screwed coming and going. You know. No, that I ain't into the triggers or the forced reset triggers. I forget which ones the ATF was running around harassing people about. You know, and I don't know much about it, and they're quite expensive. Even just the tiny triggers. When I was looking at that little carbine that had the sawed-off barrel, you know, they say if you get an Archangel Angel stock, it's already set up for that trigger, and that's 100 and some odd bucks for one of them. Okay, it ain't cheap, and I mean, they make a good product. They're good triggers, but I think I'll live with the one that's in there. You know, 25-pound number 8 shot for 45 Canadian. All right, but that ain't too, because I remember it did come down. It did come down probably to that 23. So, you know, that's like $10 more. You know, if it did, that's normal, because that's been a long time. It's been like over 10 years since I gave up shooting trap. So you see that's a normal increase, because basically your money's worth less. It is just the sad reality of it. You know, and that's the thing. It all depends. But like I said, anything, and see, I will make a video. It'll be on the channel this week about it, because people have asked me about the tariffs, and a lot of the Milsurp stuff, be it components, be it the bullets, brass, or whatever, is made by PPU, which I didn't think he had an issue with Serbia to where he'd be laying tariffs on them. But I guess it'd tariff every country in the world. Okay, that's why the Russians made a joke about Putin, that he's so bad he put a tariff on the penguins in Antarctica, you know, which was pretty funny. How's it going? My 700 with them. How would replacing the trigger on a rifle mess with your scope? Okay, is it connected to the trigger somehow or what? Usually trigger just comes out the bottom of the receiver. I don't understand how it can mess with your scope. And 700 what? Yeah, so we don't know what the future's going to bring. Well, like I said, it ain't never a dull moment. You know, never a dull moment. Got to see what happens. So yeah, so that's White River primers. Never heard much about them. Just dialed it in. Don't want to mess with it. It wouldn't. Oh, that's nice. Nice to get stuff for free. But yeah, so how was I talking about? Yep, never a dull moment, like I said. And I have no idea what's coming. Now, if conflicts erupt, that's going to be another excuse for them to raise the price of everything from gasoline to ammunition. And who knows? So we shall see. So then why would you want to change the trigger? You know. See, I have a problem from the work I've done, the sensitivity in my hands. I can't have a light trigger. My sense of touch is off. And if I get a gun with a real super light trigger, like under 3 pounds, I don't even know I'm setting the gun off. Okay, so I stay away from them. And I like the military triggers better anyway, with all the slack and that. You just get used to it. Oh, all right, because they recalled it or whatever. Well, you should be able to take the scope off the gun fairly easily and put it back and then re-zero it. I mean, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. But what do they do for the recall? Do you have to send the gun back to the factory on that? And the thing is, I've known people that owned them for years and never had a damn issue with them. And somebody told me it's something to do once you tinker with it to try to lighten it, do some garage gunsmithing, is when all these problems kind of occurred. Because that's what the hell the military uses as a sniper rifle. You know, if there's something that defective with it, you know, That's when they were trying to destroy Remington. You know, they came out with that shit. Missing ribs. They tell you to take the scope off before you send it back. All right, let's see. Boom, 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 boom. Let me see. Do, 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 do. All right, that is cool. That Bren is cool. I had some parts kits back in the day, and I ended up selling them because it was years before them companies would go and build you one. I had one of the Russian machine guns. I should have kept that damn thing and had that built, but nah. What are you gonna do? You can't have it all. You know what I mean? That is cool. Super cool. Probably with a super cool price tag too. Get back to my okay. And I got it. I seen the photos. Do 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 do. Yeah, I'm down to one, but I got to take my Mosins out. I picked up another finish one. Do some work and make some videos about them, collecting them, and another 91. I think I got 4 of them now. Might do a video on going over the 491s I got. They're always cool. You've not got adjusted to the factory on it. All right, I'm not quite familiar with it. Yeah, probably be the thing. That's like I said, they're a little over $100 or something, aren't they? You know, but they're damn good trigger. They have been for years. Yeah, see, who knows with Remington? Remington underwent a lot of changes in the 90s and turn of the century. I mean, because the plant was 45 minutes away from where I used to live. And I knew some people that were working there, got laid off from their jobs. And it was real bad. The union had a thing after a certain point, anyone who worked there and did this stuff, they were allowed to go until they retired. Okay. And basically, what they would do is force you out at 55 after you had so many years, or after so many years and you're older than 55, you more or less were retired and that job and pay scale was eliminated. People that came in were hired as machine operators, and I forget what the hell it was, is $8.50 an hour, something to do a simple job. And one guy goes, "Oh, go up there. You know how to run a machine." He goes, "If you can measure and do stuff and run some sort of machinery, they'll pay you a whole $13 an hour or something like that." And then they did something, because when I moved in 2004, and this is something that happened up in New York, they just had this thing where everyone, the newspaper, everyone, and I don't know, they told me about this after I moved. It was like 2004, 2005. When you went to work for a company, they paid you a flat wage. So say it's 750 was minimum, $8 an hour. So when you worked there, you went, you clocked in, you did your job, you got paid $8 an hour, and they took all the normal stuff out, income tax, everything else. You did not get any benefits whatsoever. There was no health insurance offered. There were no paid days off, no vacation accumulated, nothing. So you would go to work there and you would just get paid a wage, and that was it. You had nothing from them other than your paycheck. Okay. No health insurance, no nothing. Christmas came or Thanksgiving, if that business shut down for 2 days on Thanksgiving or Christmas like they do, you did not go to work, you did not get paid. You were not in there, you didn't get paid. There was no paid vacation, no nothing. And that's where Remington started running into real problems. I mean, well, the whole area turned into that stuff. And that's when quality and everything really went to hell in a handbasket. You know. Nope, never adjusted it. So yeah, there was a lot of terrible things. You know, like this guy goes, "Well, your life experience is worse than mine." That's why I moved. When stuff like that came about, I'm not going to stand for it. You know, I ain't going to be working at this level, and all of a sudden they say, "Hey, you know what? You're going to take a 30, 40% cut in pay if you want to keep your job." You know, you just keep your mouth shut and go look for another job is what the hell you do. And unfortunately for me, where they had you over a barrel, I had to move to another part of the whole damn country. Okay, and that's just the long and short of it. And all of them companies that did, they no longer exist. Everything closed up there. Union Fork and Hoe, Remington Arms is gone. They were some of the last ones to hold out. And there's a couple of them on the old air base, one place I work for now, and they're propped up by the government because the government had to justify closing the air base. And somehow, through some international deal, the company still stays there, never expanded, and never got more employees. Probably God only knows how many people are working there now, but they're propped up by the government. And if it wasn't for the government subsidizing them through this BS, it wouldn't exist. And the reason they do it, because if they closed all these companies down, that whole region in the center of New York would economically collapse. Okay, it would just be horrible, and that's why it's done. Easy to change a 700 trigger. Why did I pick NC? Because it was the closest place where my wife could come and get a job and make the same amount of money as New York. So we started here first, and when we came down for a month and looked around, she applied for jobs and she found one. Okay, that suited her needs. So with her moving, there was no big income shift that much. It's different. It is different than New York, but it was to keep her salary at a thing. And I found it. Actually, I went looked in a newspaper, and I was working in a factory in 3 weeks when I got here. Okay, I found a job instantly. You know, I had to drive 20 minutes to another city, but I got a job in 3 weeks. So I can't complain about this state. And, you know, it's still a halfway decent place to live. Probably, yeah. because the original Remington company doesn't exist no more. And it's not really Remington. I think they call it something else because they closed the Ilion plants. Remington Arms. Let me look. Shotguns. There was something about the fact that if they closed the plant in New York, which they did, you couldn't use the logo or see it's Remington. It's not Remington Arms. Okay. They just call it Remington. And for years it was Remington Arms. So that's the BS thing they did because I went to the site and it does say Remington. But it says www.remarms.com. So there's something I never got into it. Yeah, North Carolina, where I live. The Freedom Group, yeah. Oh yeah, I wouldn't buy one. I loved them. And I remember when the economy got bad, I went to the gun shop and they had all those guns. Kind of like you had to own at least one Remington gun to keep your residency in New York. I'm just kidding. They had them all. 870s, 1100s. I mean, in every gauge, 410, 12, 16. I should have bought them all up. Okay, and those were the ones that you got before they started parkerizing them and doing it. And see, what happened was the early guns made in Remington, I had people tell me they've had something wrong with the gun or didn't pattern right. They sent it back to the factory. They used to, if you sent the gun back with a complaint, they did something to adjust it, sent it back, and it was corrected. Okay. And then what they did is they were cutting down the employees, and the third floor had the woodworking room. I went through there once, and all they did was work on stocks up there. It was huge, all kinds of people. Now they get them, they're press wood with a lamination over them, okay, and they were made somewhere down, I don't know, somewhere down south, some kind of plant. So they closed that area down, okay, and all of that was made somewhere else. And then what they started doing is they go to the local machine shops. All the chokes are made in West Winfield by this one company. And this guy's got a room full of these lathes with, I think, 6 or 8 bars you load. And all these lathes do is run 24 hours a day, 5 days a week, making rem chokes. Okay, Remington don't make them. They're all made in West Winfield. That one guy makes them and sends them out. Then all their internal components, the smaller parts for the inside of like the 1100 and 870, they would farm that shit out to these little shops and they'd make it, and it wasn't held to the same quality standard. Because I knew a guy, he bought his grandson 1100, one of the parkerized ones or whatever, or maybe it was a different model. And when he went and pulled out the trigger, that it used to be on an old rem, they were almost hand fitted. You had to tap shit out. Okay, it didn't drop out. When he pulled that trigger guard down, took the bolt out, all the internal parts that rode on the back just dropped out of the gun, which they ain't supposed to do that. I've taken apart a lot of older 1100s. So yeah, they were They went downhill quick. $587. The people who have a web page have not been in business for over a century. Okay, like I said, Remington would fix these guns. I don't know about the old ones, okay, but anything that they made or something, or what they used to do, see, you had to live up there, is if you had like an old number 8 or something, there are a lot of people that retired that used to sell parts and stuff, and there were guys that would fix them up there. And what Remington would do is tell you, go see this person, and they'd recommend somebody that could fix it for you, or used to have parts. Um, 597. And God only knows who runs that company now or where or whatever, and they ain't gonna make nothing good. Buggers. See, I don't know. They told me that they closed the plant. So let's see. 597. Okay, 597. And another thing, that gun was made down south. That wasn't made in Ilion. That's your problem. And that was a disaster down there. I've seen the TV special on what happened. That was one of the biggest fuck ups in the company history and what happened down there. All right. Yeah. I went and found out where that was made. That wasn't made up in Ilion. Uh, that plant, they had troubles right from the beginning. They had a disgruntled employee got injured falling in the parking lot, and they wouldn't pay the comp. So she started ratting them out and saying what the hell was going on there. They did close that plant. And then they had that weird. They had several handguns, or one of them that was an ultimate failure. Probably will be a collector's item. I forget what it was. Never had one, but they're discontinued. Um, it's sad, but that's the way it goes. I mean, Winchester, what? They're in Japan now. They run them out of Connecticut because they don't like Connecticut being known all the gun manufacturing places. You know, it's another sad day when they close Winchester here in this country after so many years. All right, guys, it's been getting to my limit. I gotta get up, stretch my legs, and I will probably see you fellas again next Sunday at 10 o'clock. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for the discussion and we will see if I want to email this. All right. All right, guys. So see you next week.